Welcome back. The recent conflict between locals and illegal immigrants gave rise to increased distribution of fake media content. And many people are not aware of the legal implications of this and the damage that such distribution can cause to the relations between people, in politics and the economy, etc. I'm now joined by Kaylee Clifford, who's researcher at Africa Check, and social media lawyer Diana Schwartz from Diana Schwartz Attorneys, and they are here to educate me and alert me and make me aware of the dangers associated with fake news and campaigns that are run to misinform people out there. Let me start with you, Kaylee, because in recent times I've seen a lot of questions being posed to Africa Check by even members of the public checking with you whether what they were seeing was true or not. Just tell me, what is the situation in South Africa with fake content? On the social media in particular?
Yeah, so I mean in the last week certainly we've been receiving a lot of requests from people asking us to check if some of the videos and images doing the rounds on social media supposedly showing xenophobic violence in Gauteng are true or not. And unfortunately what we found is that in most circumstances the videos and the pictures are actually completely unrelated to this recent outbreak of violence.
I mean, what sort of danger or damage does that cause?
I mean, the xenophobic attacks are ongoing, so it's incredibly concerning, and we understand that people also share out of concern, right? So they want to draw attention to the issue, but it also has the potential to stir further tensions and cause more divisions. And if we want to understand a problem, we really need to not confuse that by posting old and misleading content.
Would you suggest that that's malicious on the part of those who post such content?
Yeah, I mean, at Africa Check we deal in the facts, so we try to steer away from any kind of interpretation or thinking about why a person might post such a thing. But in our experience, I think, as I say, most people share out of concern because they want to draw attention, and also because they're not aware that what they're sharing is actually old or misleading.
Well, Diana, let me bring you in here. You know, everybody's on social media now,
yes,
and therefore we do not feel bound by any rules or ethics of how we use content that we come across on social media platforms. Is there any sort of ground rule, ethical code of sorts that we should think about when we engage on social media?
Definitely, Tim. I think what the public at large don't know is that the body of laws that we have currently in place in South Africa apply to the online space. So there are separate laws which are dealing directly with social media infringements that are being promulgated and are in play at the moment, some having been promulgated and enacted, but some still in the process. However, the body of laws as it stands now, for example, the civil offence of defamation applies to the online space as well. And that's where a lot of people and the public are now finding that a lot of cases land up in court on defamation, especially with regards to social media.
Just give me an example of what you mean by that. There's a case that comes to mind, and
yes,
that is the former President Jacob Zuma's case. Derek Hanekom took it to court.
Yes.
And it was based on a Twitter posting.
That's correct,
but
yes.
Even ordinary folk, things have been said about them.
Yes.
That are defamatory to such individuals.
Yes, so basically, if somebody goes and puts a defamatory post on social media, and obviously the victim of that offence has the right to sue for defamation, what's really interesting and important about social media is that even if you were not the original poster of that content, anybody who retweets or reshares that post can also be held liable in the line of publication, because one of the elements of the crime of defamation is publication, and this is publication on public platforms that occur over and over and over again by retweeting and sharing, etc.
But how are you likely to know if you're a second, third party retweeting that content that it is not true?
That is very difficult, and I mean, I'm involved in the education of children with regards to social media, and I also speak to a lot of adults with their parents and teachers as well. And many people ask this question, how do we know? And the only surefire way of being safe is please do not retweet or reshare things if you don't know that that content is actually true, which is a very difficult thing.
Yes, how are you going to know that?
that is something that we can't say. How are we going to know? I mean, you know, there's certain things we can look out for, and I'm sure Kaylee will talk about that as well.
Yes.
And there's certain telltale signs that we can look out for, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it will be true. It doesn't necessarily mean that, okay, this looks right, this source is checked, but I'm not 100% sure, and then I tweet something, and then I'm now also named in a
I want
suit.
Kaylee to hear your opinion on this. I mean, there have been social campaigns that are currently being run, where, for instance, the campaign is aimed at outing sexual harassment type people by the victims or alleged victims. And in some instances, it appears people have made false claims against such individuals.
So often these types of posts lead to panic. So you see something on social media and it's erupting, it's all over the place, and you are prompted to react. And so, I mean, think about just last week when we heard about all those reports about schools apparently on fire in Katlehong and parents rushing to remove their kids from school only to find out later that no such thing was happening. So it causes panic, and I think a lot of that has to do with the speed at which these things travel. And it's also quite an emotional issue. You know, when we talk about issues of foreign nationals or xenophobia or even nationality, people are emotionally invested. They have strong opinions and feelings about that, and sometimes these posts play on that. So it's really important to, in that moment, just kind of take a step back and ask yourself, why am I reacting to this? Who wrote this message? Can we trust them? Can we verify the claims? Is it something that is making me angry or upset? And these are just little questions that you can ask yourself that should make it clearer. And certainly, if you're unsure about its authenticity, as Diana says, then the simple solution is to not share.
Well, there's, in your case, also the matter of fact-checking, right? And I suspect in political campaigns now, or if people want to insert a particular piece of information into the public domain, even those who should know, do manipulate social media, right? What are the telltale signs that tell you or give you a sense that there is some form of manipulation going on here?
Yeah. So often what I find very helpful is just to have a look at the comments on the post. Sometimes there is at least one or two people who have some kind of prior knowledge on the issue and are raising really great questions about the post's authenticity. Other than that, Google is your friend. So sometimes even just typing in a description of what you're looking for can pull up old articles, and then you find out that this is actually something that happened 2-3 years ago as opposed to yesterday. We also have more techie options. So if it's a video or an image that you're looking at, a really great thing to do is a Google reverse image search.
Well, there's information. By the time we go on air with this interview, this information will have already been dealt with by the judges, right, the Chief Justice. And this has been circulating in social media, allegations that judges received payments from the CR17 campaign, and names were mentioned, obviously damaging to those individual judges. We do not know what the truth is in as far as that is concerned, but it ended up trending, that fact, right, that there are judges who are corrupt and receiving payments. Can you comment further on this? And
Sure.
what should people know about this type of campaign, because it appears to be a campaign ultimately?
Yes. I think what is really important for users of social media to know is that there is such a thing as trial by social media. We've seen it happen over and over and over again in the case of the alleged suspects or perpetrators of sexual violence. You know, being accused, being found guilty, and in the case of people being accused of crimes which haven't been tried yet or where judgments have not been delivered yet, that trial by social media goes as far as to convict them and say they are guilty and take action in like what we've seen last week in the country with regards to Nene's perpetrator and the burning down of his home, etc. So, you know, we have to be really aware of what we're doing on social media, and we can't believe everything that's posted on there, and we have to weigh the facts quite nicely. I work with an organization called Media Monitoring Africa, and they have a tool called No News, which is really great in terms of misinformation and fake news. And of course it's political as well. I mean, we've seen with the Cambridge Analytica whole scandal, how information from Facebook was used to influence voters in the US election. And that's not only happening in the US, it's happening all over the world. And that's what we need to realize, is what we see on our screens, on our feeds, may not necessarily be true, and we have to look out for factors that we can identify what is real and what is fake.
Well, I've noticed that when some of this information goes out, I want to stay with the judges thing for a moment, that the people end up badgering those individuals or those they believe should comment on it. I've received such tweets myself, and people asking me to comment on that information.
Yes.
As much as I can check, do all the checking that you that you say we should do. But whoever the people are reading or sending those tweets think that I've got something to hide when I choose not to comment on them.
Correct. Yeah. I think it is a problem that happens. What I would advise you as my client would say, please don't react. And also, those people who make comments and who sometimes troll the individuals, or it's called cyberbullying or cyber stalking as well, that can happen on social media. There are remedies that can be taken by the victim, such as yourself in this case, against those perpetrators.
So I can approach a lawyer and say, this is what's going on. Please help here.
Yes,
and there can be remedies or steps taken to correct this. Now let's quickly do the idiot's guide to fact-checking before you go to Africa Check. What should you do? The ABC thereof.
So, I think, again, just looking at the comments, seeing what people are already saying is very helpful. Searching Google for just describing the event, seeing if you can find any more information on it, also very important. And then we have the Google reverse image search, which is a really great online tool that anyone can use to really verify within seconds if an image has existed previously on the internet. So that's great for if someone is alleging that something happened yesterday, yet you upload an image into Google search and you find that it's existed online since 2017. That's already a red flag. So that's really great. And then lastly, it's sometimes not enough that we just refrain from sharing. If you see something that you know is old and misleading, set the record straight. If you know of a fact check that has debunked it or information that can help provide more insight, post it there. We always say that it's not about belittling people. We're not in the gotcha business. It's really just about getting people to be more responsible about the way that they share news.
Kaylee Clifford, thank you very much. Researcher with Africa Check, and Diana Schwartz, social media law expert with Diana Schwartz Attorneys. Much appreciated, and thank you very much. So be careful out there, be careful, check your facts, and of course the tools are there. We've shared that information with you. But we still invite you to go back to social media and share your thoughts. The hashtag is the Modise Network on social media. After the break, we'll be talking about how women can benefit from the fourth industrial revolution. Stay with us.